All right, so let's start with Roy Lave.
Time on the theater. 20 years ago or so, the Community Foundation did a survey of what people wanted at First and Main, and the theater was clearly the winner. So for 20 years, we've ignored what's pretty obvious to the residents. So I hope that really can in fact happen in terms of enlivening the downtown.
Hi, I'm Kurt Powell, resident here for 65 years, and I approve of this planning process. I think it's fantastic, and I approve of development too. I'm a builder, but it can be done consciously. So, for example, I think we need to maintain contact with nature here in downtown Los Altos. We have the beautiful trees in Shoup Park, the beautiful trees, redwood trees in Lincoln Park. We have 6 beautiful redwood trees on the Bumble and Area 151 property. I say let's save those trees, make that the park.
Good evening. I'm Gary Heddon, Los Altos resident. I'm on the Environmental Commission, but tonight I'm speaking for myself. I support the visioning process and the goal of a successful downtown. I realize this is the first version. I do have some concerns, and I realize and appreciate that these concerns will be addressed. Nevertheless, I'd like to elaborate on 4 of them. First, there is a comment that property owners feel handcuffed by strict enforcement of the Title 24 energy and efficiency standards. It is important for everyone to know, including RM, that these energy efficiency standards will pay in the long run with lower energy bills to developers. Second, we know that attractive public space can activate a downtown, and the theater is one good idea that was evaluated. Thank you. Many of us think a downtown community park could do that as well. A centrally located downtown park should be considered. Third, the idea of in lieu parking fees to substitute for on-site parking requirements deserves strong consideration. I am concerned that the language in the report that calls for using it to construct additional parking is too limiting. I would prefer that the funds be managed by a traffic management association, as is the case in many nearby cities, and that alternatives to driving a car be seriously considered.
Hi, Roberta Phillips, resident. So I'm really disturbed because my understanding was that you guys had a commitment to the community to get input from the community before you came up with the scenarios. And what I saw was, let's raise the buildings, let's lower the parking ratios. And it's not that we don't want change. We know that change is going to come. But I feel that we should dump the 4 scenarios and do the community outreach first. Secondly, I believe that the surveys that we do should not just be opinions. I think that people do need to know what the trade-offs are. I think that the surveys need to be scientific. They need to be scientifically accurate. They need to be demographically based so that all the different age groups can be represented. And, you know, just having the same 200 people show up and give their opinion, and I'm one of those people, really needs to be not just at a soccer game where somebody gives their downtown, but for what I'm looking at is you're telling us that we have grown from 100 million to 140 million, and we've had a sales growth of 50%. And so we're doing that without spending the $300,000 and changing the parking and raising the heights. We're doing well without all of this.
Thank you. To use. These are the facts. These facts, the DBC was hamstrung by not being allowed to consider the economic consequences. These are the economic consequence when you lower the building heights. It prevents development. The parking requirements aren't going to be lowered because someone philosophically feels they should be lowered. It's because the existing parking heights were created in 2010 when we had flawed data on the Fear and Peers report that was given by the former city community development director to Fear and Peers. They had flawed data. They made a flawed recommendation. There's nothing wrong with the parking. The parking requirements need to be lowered because they're completely out of touch with realities of parking. Number, the town needs more office space. I've been saying it for 3 years. We cannot have vitality in downtown without more office. It should be on the perimeter. It shouldn't be on the core. Number 4, we definitely need more personal fitness businesses. I'm a commercial retail broker. There's not a city in the that I know of that isn't switching its zoning to allow personal fitness.
Good evening, Kim Cranston, Los Altos Hills. Good. I think you've gotten a lot of good feedback tonight. They'll make it better, and I just hope the process moves forward now so we can really have a meaningful process to engage the community in what they want downtown Los Altos to be in the future. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm a resident of Los Altos, and I was on the Downtown Buildings Committee. I think it's great we finally got the economic piece in there, but I think there's so many different pieces, and I also feel like community engagement is a very challenging thing. We tried to do it successfully, and even once we got to the point of presenting almost a year and a half later, you know, a lot of people judged whether or not we were effective at representing the community.
Jerry Medea, 853 Carnation Court, a 41-year resident. Not only did they have a good idea to begin with about having a village, we shouldn't have named it a city of Los Altos. We should have had it a town at least. Anyway, he said the reason it stayed generally pretty good is that they defended themselves from overdevelopment and kept it a little bit less dense and more village-like. And to me, all this effort on visioning is just an opportunity for to forget about the people who live in this town, who cherish the village atmosphere. I'm glad to hear that in the previous presentation that there's an open mind expressed about whether it's a lot of development or no change at all or not much. And all I see is a lot of effort here in this envisioning process to line up people to say more parking, more height, more canyon First Street.